The second witness called to testify by Prosecutor Hagerman was Michael Garner, a criminal investigator special agent with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Garner retired from the Memphis Police Department in June after 20 years with the department. During his career, he played a role in the Lorenzen Wright trial. He was involved with digital forensics after being assigned to the Organized Crime Unit in 2018. Hagerman's questioning began with call detail records. When you sign up to a service with a cell company, that company can monitor your account's usage. A call detail record shows a record of your calls, ingoing and outgoing messages, and data usage. Those records also have tower usage on it. Your cell phone uses radio waves that transmit to a tower that then relays your communication. Those towers are always changing. He said he keeps up with which company owns which towers through the FBI. Garner said that over a third of his 1,300 training hours are in cellular analogy. Garner prepared a 73-page report in regard to the young DOLPH homicide case. In going over the report, he testified that it's impossible to pinpoint exactly where a cell phone is at any point in time. Instead, investigators are able to tell what area a cell phone is in. So, for example, investigators can tell that a cell phone is in Uptown and not Midtown. Garner also testified that cell phones don't communicate with the nearest tower, they reach out to the next available tower. If a tower is full, it can reach out to the next available tower, but it's unlikely that a cell phone would need to expand 4 or 5 towers to find service. Garner said that he received call detail records for Justin Johnson's cell phone and Cornelius Smith's cell phone. Those records had tower information, Garner said. He did analysis on Johnson's phone for the time period between 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. on November 17, 2021, the day young DOLPH was murdered. On Smith's phone, Garner ran analysis between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. A document received from T-Mobile showed details regarding a phone purchased by Justin Johnson's sister. The second set of call records showed details for a phone registered to Smith. Garner was asked if he was able to determine from those records if the phone purchased by Johnson's sister left the Crosstown concourse, if it went to the Valero gas station, if it returned to Crosstown, if it left the apartment building, and if he could determine where the phone was at the time of young DOLPH's homicide. Garner was also asked to determine if the phone went to the Gospel Gardens apartment off Tulane in Whitehaven, and if it returned to Crosstown after that. Garner said he was able to tell the duration of the call on those devices. Duration of call indicates the length of time between hitting the call button and the end button, not necessarily if two people spoke on the phone. Garner said that text messages through T-Mobile do not have tower locations. According to Garner, from 1 a.m. to 2:35 a.m. on November 17th, Johnson's phone accessed a tower that covered the Crosstown apartments. During that time, Garner said at least 12 different outgoing and incoming calls happened on Johnson's phone. A call from Johnson's phone hit a tower near the Valero gas station at Park and Highland at 3:17 a.m. At 4:49 a.m., Smith's phone connected to the tower that provides coverage to the Crosstown concourse. At 9:56 a.m. on November 17th, an outgoing call from Johnson's phone pinged off a tower that provides coverage to the Crosstown concourse. 2 other calls also connected from Johnson's phone to the tower. One of those was a 3-way call. At 11:30 a.m., Garner said that Johnson's phone had left the Crosstown apartments at 12:06 p.m. and 12:09 p.m. Johnson's phone connected to 2 towers nearby each other in the area just to the east of Makita's homemade butter cookies, just north of the homicide scene. Johnson's phone connected to a tower at 12:17 p.m., Garner said. He said the location was about 4 to 10 minutes from the homicide scene. After a short recess, trial resumed at 11:45 a.m. Garner said that there was a data session with Johnson's phone at 12:22 p.m. on November 17th. At that time, he testified, Johnson's phone connected to a tower that could provide service for Makita's homemade butter cookies, where young DOLPH was shot to death. At 12:23 p.m., Johnson's phone received a call that accessed a tower facing east at Airways and Lamar, north of the homicide scene. Garner said, without testing, it would be impossible to say if that tower could or could not provide service to Makeda's. That call was not answered and a voicemail was left. The call was also connected to the tower servicing Makeda's. About 30 minutes after the homicide, Johnson's phone pinged off the tower that services the Gospel Gardens apartment. Between 12:58 p.m. and 1:57 p.m., Johnson's phone connected to that tower for 26 phone calls. From 2:22 p.m. to 5:23 p.m., 44 calls from Johnson's phone connected to a tower in Hickory Hill. The next 13 calls from the phone show that the phone moved north from the Hickory Hill tower. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., Smith's phone connected to towers around Lamar and Sims for 5 calls, Garner said. At 12:04 p.m., Johnson called Smith, the call records show. Between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m., every call that hit the phone was an incoming call, and all of those calls went to voicemail. During that time, Johnson's cell phone connected to a tower that could serve Bradley Street, where the white Mercedes was discovered. From 2 p.m. and 3 p.m., 17 calls came into Johnson's phone. At 2:39 p.m., Johnson's phone made an outgoing call. Between 3 p.m. and 3:20 p.m., Johnson's phone accessed a tower in Orange Mound, and 13 incoming and outgoing calls were made. Between 3:20 p.m. and 4 p.m., the device connected to several different towers across the city, according to expert witness. Between 3:40 p.m. and 3:55 p.m., Garner said that the phone was in downtown Memphis. Between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m., the phone connected to towers for 2 calls. One of those calls connected to the tower that serves Bradley Street. Johnson's phone accessed a tower near the Crosstown Concourse from midnight until 2:35 a.m. on November 17th, as well as a tower that could provide coverage for the Valero gas station. It then returned to Crosstown area by 4:49 a.m. Johnson's phone stayed in that area from 9:56 a.m. until 11:56 a.m. and then hit a tower near Lamar and Sims from 12:02 p.m. to 12:10 p.m. It was during that time that Johnson's phone called Smith's phone. Between 12:22 p.m. and 12:23 p.m., the time of the homicide, the device hit a tower in the area of 2730 Airways Boulevard, just down the street from the scene of the crime. After that, Johnson's phone went to the area of Shelby Drive and Tulane Road from 1 p.m. to 1:59 p.m. It then went to Hickory Hill Drive and Valley Drive from 2:22 to 5:26. The phone hit a tower near Walnut Grove and Humphreys Boulevard at 5:42 p.m. Browning identified the Apple ID associated with the phone as one belonging to Justin Johnson. On November 16, 2021 at 6:10 p.m., Trayon Ingram sent Johnson a text of a white Mercedes-Benz, according to the phone records. The next day, the day of the homicide at 2:58 a.m., Johnson sent Ingram a location drop. That location was an address on Bradley Street, the phone records show. That address on Bradley Street was a driveway next door to where the Mercedes-Benz was found after the homicide. At 3:16 a.m., images from the Valero gas station on South Highland captured the white Mercedes-Benz and an Infiniti. Browning said that he was trying to find out where Ingram and Johnson went after the location drop. Those images at the gas station were taken about 20 minutes after the location drop was sent. From 10:51 a.m. to 10:55 a.m. on November 17th, still shot photos show Justin Johnson and his daughter and the white Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes is leaving the garage of the Crosstown Concourse Apartments at 10:56 a.m., according to Browning. At 10:54 a.m., Johnson placed an outgoing call to Cornelius Smith. At 12:04 p.m. on November 17th, Phone records show an outgoing call from Justin Johnson to Cornelius Smith. That call lasted 17 seconds and would have been placed about 20 minutes before young Dolph was attacked. At 12:23 on the day of the homicide, Johnson received an incoming call from his mother. That call had a duration of 0 seconds, indicating that he never picked up or that there was a service interruption. At 12:25 p.m., Justin placed an outgoing call to Big Jook, Browning testified. At 12:26 p.m. on the day of the murder, phone records show that Johnson had a FaceTime call with Anthony Mims, also known as Big Jook. On November 17th at 12:39 p.m., Browning said that Johnson placed an outgoing call to his cousin and then received a text from her shortly after. At 12:40 p.m., the two spoke for about 28 seconds, according to Browning. Phone records show that Johnson received his cousin's address in that text, an address that matches the Gospel Gardens apartments. At 12:47 p.m., phone records show that Johnson sent that address to an associate. Johnson then sent a text to that person saying, "Now, bro, I need you now." Immediately after, Johnson received a text saying, "I'm on my way." At 12:58 p.m., Johnson placed a 12-second outgoing call to his cousin, Browning said. At 1:26 p.m., Johnson's phone was used to contact the girlfriend of Cornelius Smith. Johnson's phone later received a text from Smith's girlfriend saying, "This is C, bruh. Send me bruh number so I can get my phone." C was identified as Cornelius Smith. Browning identified that the data from Johnson's phone had been deleted, but the information was retrieved from the call logs. Browning testified that he knew Johnson was a rapper and reviewed rap videos that Johnson made. Some of those videos were found on his phone. In those videos, the tattoos on Johnson's hand were visible, as was the fact that he is right-handed, the detective said. Browning said that officers went to several locations, including his house, to find Johnson. A tip was eventually received that Johnson was outside of Memphis and had traveled back and forth to and from Memphis following the homicide of young Dolph. Browning described the attempt to find Johnson as a manhunt, with the U.S. Marshals involved. During that manhunt, Johnson's social media was monitored and he was eventually arrested in Indianapolis. Those weapons were never recovered. Browning said that there was evidence that the Mercedes-Benz was wiped down, though 3 sets of fingerprints were discovered in the car. Browning said that there was evidence that the suspects in the young Dolph homicide were wearing gloves. Chapstick was found in the car with Trayon Ingram's DNA, Browning said. The Mercedes was searched for blood evidence and touch DNA samples were taken. Those results were inconclusive. Browning said that Pressure World Car Wash is in the Lamar and Sims area. That's supposedly where Cornelius Smith met with Hernandez Govan to retrieve his phone after the homicide.